Hi guys, you're welcome back to Dami Dimension channel. My name is Dami. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make that manipulation type of princess that if you are interested in seeing how this is done, keep watching. Try not to skip any part of the video. As you can see, I already have a dartless basic bodice pattern drafted on my fabric. If you want to see how this is done, if you don't know how it's done yet, I have a detailed video on it. I'm going to provide the link in the description box, so just check it out. It's very simple. So yeah, if you're yet to be subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Hit the red button down below to subscribe, because every week I share interesting sewing tutorials, so you don't want to miss out. Okay, so I'm just going to be introducing what I have on the table to you so we can be on the same page. Let's get started. Here is just a starting point. This is my chest line that I got by deriving my armhole depth, and this one is the bust line, which is where my nipple point is. This is the under bust, the waist, and the blouse length. So I'm just going to write it so that we can understand. So here is my shoulder line. So as you can see, I have my fabric folded in half. So this is my lining fabric that I'm cutting. So I have it folded in half right now, and here is unfold. So this is the front that we are working on. And I'm starting with taking my nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement for this person is 8. I'm going to divide it by 2, and it's going to give me 4. So I'm going to be placing my 4 inches here, and I'm also going to, just place it here again so that I can square out the line. The next thing I'm going to do is to find the midpoint of this curve. So I'm going to be measuring. So I measured around the curve and I have 10 inches. I'm going to find the midpoint of 10, which is 5. So my 5 is here. I will mark it. So that's the point of my 5. Then from this point now, I will connect to this one of my bust point line. So on this line now, from here, I'm going to be coming up by 1 inch. Okay, so take note of that point. And here I'm going to be taking 1 inch on both sides. You can make it half of an inch. If you don't want the bust point to protrude too much, you can make it half of an inch. You can make it 3/4 of an inch. That totally depends on you. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be taking 1 inch on both sides. That is my 1 inch on both sides. Then I'm going to be connecting it to this point. Okay, and once that is done, remember I said that the difference between the dart manipulation method and the other type of princess that is that the dart manipulation enters deeper at the under bust line. So on my under bust line now, I'm going to be taking 1 inch on both sides as well. So 1 inch here and 1 inch here. Okay, and then on the waistline, I'm going to be taking 1/2 inch on both sides. So 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Okay, then I'm going to be connecting all these points together to meet here now. Okay, and the next thing on this top length, my top length is 26 inches, and usually from the waistline we usually come up by 2 inches in order to get the dart leg here. And because my top length is 26 inches and the hip length of this person is 27, so because of that, that means I have 1 inch here to my hip length, right? So I'm just going to be coming up by 1 inch. So it's the same thing as coming up by 2 inches from your hip point. Okay, so from this point now, I'm going to be connecting together to meet this one. And once you're done doing that, you should go ahead and make sure that you clear all these edges. Make sure you don't have any sharp or pointy edges. Thing I'm going to do now is to add whatever I have here. I'm going to extend this line right here and add whatever inches I have here on here. I'm going to do that so you can see. And the reason for doing that is that we are going to be taking this part off. We're going to be cutting it out, and by the time we need to join it together, if we don't add that extra, this part is going to be shorter than this one, and we don't want that. So that being said, I am going to extend this line up. Whatever measurement I have here, remember I took 1 inch, 1 inch, that's 2. I'm going to be taking that 2 inches here. So I measure my 2 inches here like this. Then I'm going to be recreating this curve right here. So by so doing, by the time we cut out and we join this part together, your armhole is going to come out equal. Okay, and the next thing to do now is to add 1/2 inch joining allowance on my shoulder point. Next, I'm going to transfer my horizontal measurement now. Remember that we are going to be putting our chest measurement on this line. This is now our chest line. Okay, all we need to do is to divide all our horizontal measurement by 4, and then we are going to place it on the respective line. So I'm going to my chest line now, and I'm going to be putting my bust measurement. So my bust measurement divided by 4 is going to give me 10.5. So my 10.5 is here. Then I'm going to be adding whatever measurement I have here. You are going to transfer it here as well. So I have 2 inches, then I'm adding that 2 inches to give me 12.5. And then I'm going to be adding another 1 inch to join the 2 dots together. 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here to join them together by the time we cut. So then after that, then I'm going to add 2 inches seam allowance. That's my choice. You can make yours 1 inch, you can make it 1.5. That is totally your choice. 2 inches now is here, so I'll put my mark here. So next, I'm moving to my waistline. My waist circumference divided by 4 is going to give me 9.5. So my 9.5 is here. Okay, then I'm adding whatever measurement I have on this line as well for my dart. So I have 1 inch, and I'm placing my 1 inch as well. And then I'm going to be adding another 1 inch to join the darts together as well. Okay, then I will also add my seam allowance of 2 inches. Okay, then I'm moving to my so I'm going to be treating this part as my hip, or you can just go ahead and measure around your client where the length of the top is going to be. You can measure your client round at that point, but for me, I'm going to be using the hip measurement of my client on this line because it's really close to her hip. It's just 1 inch above her hip line. Okay, so I'm going to be dividing her hip measurement by 4, and that's going to give me 11.75. that is here. And then I'm going to be adding 1 inch to join this dart together because we are going to be cutting through this part. Okay, so then that is going to be here, and then I'm going to be adding my 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, 1 and 2, so it's going to be here. So then I'm going to connect these points together now. So, and before I go ahead and cut, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch joining allowance at the down part as well. So here is the finished look after cutting out the pattern, and now we are going to be moving to the back panel. So just like I did for the front panel, also drafted my dartless basic bodice pattern for my back, and here is my neckline. I'm using the width of 4.5 inches by 3.5 inches. I use the same thing for the front panel neckline as well. Okay, and here is my shoulder slope, my armhole depth, armhole curve obviously. This is my chest line, my bust line where my nipple point falls. Here is the under bust, the waistline, and the blouse length. And here is my seam allowance to hem the down part. Okay, so again I'm going to be taking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. That gives me 4 inches. I'm transferring it here like so, and I'm also going to mark it here 4 inches. Then I'll find the midpoint of this curve. I have 9.5, and that's going to give me 4.75, right? So I'll mark my 4.75 like so. So I'm going to be connecting this with a curve. So I'm just going to freehand it first. Okay, like so. And as you can see, I have my zipper allowance here, and I'm using 2 inches. You can use 1 inch, you use 1.5 inch. That is your choice. Okay, I'm using 2 inches. Waistline. So on my waistline, I'm going to be taking 1/2 inch on both sides. So I'm taking 1/2 inch on both sides of my nipple point line, like so, and then I'm going to be connecting to meet this point right here. And once that is done, on my top length, I'm going to be coming up by 1 inch. So from this point now, I'm going to be connecting to form my dart leg. Alright, and the next thing to do now is to start transferring a horizontal measurement. So first I'm starting with my chest line, and I'm going to be putting my bust measurement. A lot of people ask questions about this a lot. So if you're yet to understand how this chest line and bust line works, you should watch my basic bodies pattern. I'm going to post the link below or at the end of the video or in the description box as well. So check it out, watch it, and I hope you're going to understand it better. Okay, so I'm going to be putting my bust circumference measurement on my chest line. So my bust circumference divided by 4 is going to give me 10.5. My 10.5 is here, and I'm going to be adding 1 inch to join this dart together because I'm going to be cutting through this whole part and I need to join them together. So I'm adding the 1 inch like so, and I'm going to be adding my 2 inches seam allowance that I use for the front panel, and that's going to give me 13.5 all together. So I'm placing my 13.5 points like so, and next I'm moving to my waistline. The quarter of my waist measurement is 9.5. Okay, and then whatever you have in between this dart, you are going to be adding it. So my 9.5 plus 1 inch, I have 1 inch here, and then another 1 inch to join the 2 darts together, then plus my 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, and finally I move to my top length, and I'll be placing the hip measurement. If I have any excess, it's easier to trim it off. Alright, my hip measurement is 11.75. Okay, then I'm going to be adding 1 inch to join the dart together, and I'm also going to be adding my 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, so then I'm going to be connecting those points together now. And remember, just like we did for the front, we are going to be extending this line and adding 1 inch in this case, because we need 1 inch to join, right? So I'm just going to be adding that 1 inch in order to make everything come out equal. And then I'll be recreating this curve. And finally, I'm adding my shoulder seam of 1/2 inch as well. And now it's time to cut out the panel. And once you're done and you open it up, you're going to have something like this. So set it aside, and you're going to be using this to cut out your main fabric the exact same way, okay? Okay, I'll repeat the same thing to my front panel as well. I'll be cutting out the same shape. So as you can see, here are my front panels after cutting them out, and I went ahead and cut out fusible interfacing on the bust area. I went ahead and ironed it on the bust area only. So here is the shape that I cut out for the fusible interfacing, as you can see. Okay, because I don't want to pad it, that's why I just put the fusible interfacing on that side. All right, so next it's time for us to start combining this panel. So I'm starting from the down part, and I'm going to be putting them together like this and stitching by 1/2 inch all the way up. So you should repeat the same thing to the second side panel as well. And once that is done, this is what I have. As you can see, it's coming up already. And yeah, you can see the shape. And now we have the lining piece as well. We are going to be joining it the exact same way. I like to start from the bottom, so I'm going to be starting from the bottom as well, and I'm going to work my way all the way up, and I'm going to be joining my back panel the same exact way as well. It's very simple, quite repetitive. So just join your back panel, the dart area, together as well. And now I am done joining the back side, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and I also joined the lining as well the same way. So as you can see, I joined the lining the same way. So here is my front panel after joining it together, and remember that I ironed hairstay on it. So what I'm going to do now is to put the lining and the main fabric right sides facing each other. As you can see, right sides facing each other. Make sure you align all of the parts. So align the neckline, the sides, just make sure everything is aligning properly. I'm going to be joining on this part first, on the down part, so I'll put both of them together like this, and I'm going to join by 1/2 inch. And once I'm done doing that, I will open it up, and then I will top stitch on the lining. So I will top stitch all the raw edges on my lining, and this is just to make the down part relax. Okay, so now I'm done joining this part together, and I top stitched on my lining. It looks something like this on the right side, and the next thing I'm going to do is to put them right sides together back again. Now I have them right sides facing each other, and I'm going to be matching the neckline, and I'm going to be stitching on the neckline and the two sides. So match, stitch by 1/2 inch, and here as well stitch by 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch. That depends on your allowance that you have provided. Okay, so as you can see now, I am done joining the neckline, and I also joined here, and I used 1/4 inch. Okay, so I also notched all these curved corners, and I flat ironed the seams. You should repeat the same thing to all your seams here as well. And the reason for doing that is to make sure that you don't have any excess fabric bumping in your garment. Everything should be flat and nice. And after you are done doing that, you can bring it out from the armhole. So after bringing it out from the armhole, go ahead and give it a good press so that everything lays nice and neat. Remember to notch your neckline as well before turning it inside out, of course. So notch round the neckline and turn it inside out and flat iron everything. And for the back panel, I will turn this one right side facing the right side of the lining, and I will turn it right side facing each other. So we are dealing with one part of the back panel now, so turn them right side facing each other. And we are also going to be stitching here by 1/2 inch. Once you're done doing that, align the neckline, and then you are going to stitch the neckline as well by 1/2 inch, and you are going to stitch here straight down by 1/4 inch. Once you're done doing that, you are going to repeat the same process to the second back panel. So as you can see, at this point I have joined the neckline, and I also joined the down part and top stitched on the lining. So I just want to show you before I stitch the side, because I'm going to be stitching here by 1/4 inch and also here by 1/4 inch. But before you do that, you remember that I cut my lining 1/2 inch shorter than the main fabric at the down part. So you need to make sure that your neckline is aligned, and then you shake it like this so that all of the excess on the main fabric can fall down nicely before you go ahead and stitch here by 1/4 inch. And then you are going to be bringing it out from the armhole. Okay, if you want, you can go ahead and stitch this shoulder point now as well, so that we can hide the raw edges, so you can have only the armhole open, but that's optional. We are going to be dealing with that later on. Okay, so once you're done doing that and you turn this one inside out, go ahead and iron your piece. Okay, and once you are done with all of that, this is what you're going to have. So at this point, my two back panels are fully lined, as you can see. And the next thing I'm going to be doing is to be inserting my zipper, and I'm going to be using this open-ended zipper. I'm just going to place it on my fabric like this, making sure that this part stops where I want it to stop. You know, it stops at the end of my fabric like so. And I'm just going to place it like this. And take note of your zipper allowance. Remember that I have stitched in 1/4 inch and I left 2 inches zipper allowance, right? So that means I'm going to be having 1.75 inch left like this, and that is where I'm going to be placing my zipper. Okay, so I'm going to place it, and then I'm going to stitch it all the way, so that by the time I'm done, I'm going to have something like this. And then I will cut off the excess, leaving about 1/2 inch or 0.75 inch, and I'm going to fold that in a little bit like this. Okay, another way of doing this is to leave an opening here. But when you were stitching the neckline, you could leave an opening of your zipper allowance here, so you stitch your neckline and stop somewhere here, so that you can tuck in that excess inside, in between your main fabric and your zipper. That's another way of doing it. Okay, so as you can see, I've put in my zipper where I'm going to be stitching it on. Okay, and I'm going to be stitching along this pin all the way down. So now I am done stitching the zipper on this side. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the second back panel, okay, and I will do this so that I can have the edge of my zipper. So this is the edge of my zipper now, and I'll place it this way. And I'll also pin it down and stitch. So now, as you can see, I'm done joining the zipper on the second back panel, and I went ahead and cut the excess zipper. So this is what I have. and I folded the zipper in and stitched it. So this is what it looks like. You can see. So I'm just going to do the same thing on this side now. And once you're done doing that, you should pick your front panel, right side facing the right side of the back, like this, and then you are going to be shaping the sides. Make sure you do all the fitting at this point, and then you are going to be joining the sides, and for the shoulder as well. And for the shoulder, you are going to pick main fabric to main fabric, and you stitch by 1/2 inch. You repeat the same thing on this side, main fabric and main fabric. Open it up like this, main fabric, lining and lining together, and you stitch by 1/2 inch. And once that is done, you insert your sleeve, and that's all about the blouse. And for the sleeve, it is going to be a basic sleeve which I have cut out already. I have a very detailed video on how to cut a basic sleeve. I'm going to post it in the description box, so check it out so we don't have to go over that in this video. Okay, so watch that video. It's exactly the same thing, the same method I cut this one out with. Okay, so and the sleeve is going to be having a flare at the 3/4 length. So for the 3/4 length, I'm going to be cutting that with you guys now. And just like we always do when we are cutting out a full circle flare, we are going to be needing the circumference of wherever we are going to be fixing the flare. In this case, we are fixing it on this part of the sleeve. So I'm measuring what I have, because my fabric is on fold, it's folded into 2. So here I have 8 inches, and I'm going to multiply that by 2 because my fabric is folded into 2. So that's going to give me 16. So I'm going to divide that 16 by 6.28, which is the standard way of getting the radius of a circle. So when I divide that by 6.28 rather, so 16 divided by 6.28 is going to give me 2.6. Okay, so 2.6 is going to be the radius of my circle now, and I'm now going to fold my fabric into 4. Yeah, so I have enough now to cut my flare. So I'm just going to start measuring the flare. So my radius was 2.6, right? I'm just going to, let me just make it 2.75. So I'll take that 2.75 round. Okay, and then I'm going to take the length. I have 6 inches as my length, right? And I need 1/2 inch for the damper, so I'm just going to take 6.5 right away. I'm taking my 6.5 round. Okay, so here is what I have. I'm trying not to draw too much on this fabric because it's white. Okay, so here is the line for this part, and here is the line for this part, but I'm not going to be cutting directly on it. I'm going to be offsetting 1/2 inch upward so that I can use that to join to my sleeve. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut on this upper line. Okay, so this was where I measured, but I cut here so that I can have 1/2 inch to join to the upper part. But here I have my seam allowance already, so I'm just going to cut it on this line. So here is what our flare looks like, and now I'm going to make use of this to cut out another one for my lining, and I'm also going to cut 2 for my main fabric the same exact way. This basic sleeve, I'm going to be lining only this flare. Okay, so I'm not cutting any lining for the basic sleeve. So at this point, I have a lining and main fabric of the circles, right sides facing each other. So I'll place them on top of each other like that, and then I'm going to be stitching them round by 1/2 inch. I will repeat the same to the second circle as well. So here is it after stitching by 1/2 inch. Then I'm going ahead to notch all around so that I can bring it inside out and I can have it nice and flat. Here is my sleeve after pressing it, and now I fold it into 2 and just notch to find the midpoint. So I grab one of the sleeves, and here is my circle, and then I'm going to place the notched part on the center point here, but it has to be right side to the right side. Now I'm going to pin it round. So now I'm done pinning it round. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch it all the way round. And once I'm done stitching it round, I will turn it to the wrong side, and I'm going to stitch my seam allowance before I attach it to my bodice. So here I have my sleeve is all done. I have already sewn my seam allowance in on the wrong side, and like I said, I joined this part together, and the next thing now is to fit it into the armhole. Okay, so what you're going to do is to have the right side of your bodice and the right side of your sleeve together, and then you're going to put the sleeve into the armhole like this, and then you start pinning. So I'm starting from the shoulder point. I'm matching the notch of the shoulder on the sleeve to my shoulder seam. And I'm going to go ahead and pin that all the way around, and I will stitch it down by 1/2 inch. So it's that simple. If you get all your measurements correctly, your sleeve should fit perfectly into the armhole. Okay, so now I'm done pinning my sleeve all the way around, and I'm going to stitch it by 1/2 inch all around. And as you can see, my sleeve fitted perfectly into the armhole without any excess. Okay, if yours have any excess maybe on the sleeve, then you should go ahead and sew the sleeve a bit more in. Just adjust everything to make sure it fits into your armhole. Here is it after stitching the armhole. I'm now going to go ahead and finish it with a bias strip. Another alternative for you is to use the overlocker, just to make sure your work comes out clean and perfect. So after sewing, then that is the end of this tutorial, and once you turn it to the right side, this is what you're going to have. So I'm going to do that now and give it a good press, and I will show you the finished result. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and comment your thoughts in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let's meet again in my next tutorial. So guys, here is what the final top looks like on my client. She really likes it. As you can see, she's feeling herself. Yeah, so the wrap skirt she's wearing with it is from my previous tutorial. If you haven't seen the video, I'm going to post the link right here. Yeah, that's it. So click it and enjoy it. Here is the basic bodice and basic sleeve tutorial as well. Enjoy watching, and let's meet again in my next one. Bye.